Welcome to Seavine, We the People. I'm Linda Forsyth, and today I'm going to be doing an update on what is going on at GTMO. It's been quite a while, and actually a lot has been happening behind the scenes. Today also, very early, President Trump made the announcement that he had tested positive for COVID, along with our First Lady, Melania, also was tested positive. And so there's a lot of sadness, concern, worry that's going on. And the reason I am making this particular discussion that we're going to be having, it is an opinion piece having to do with Guantanamo Bay, is because I'm hoping that's going to maybe give you a little bit of a different perspective than a lot of the fear mongering that's going on. So this is really a study group, and welcome. I am very glad that you're here today. Now, a lot of what I'm going to be discussing, I'm going to make this very clear. You can find out what is going on in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, in GTMO, by going to the Office of Military Commission's website, the DoD website. It's there right now, and it will explain to you everything that you need to know about not only who they are, but the rules, victim witness assistance, legal resources, news media resources. You can contact them. Also, it has all of the cases, not just the 9/11 KSM et al., but it has many other cases. It has information for the calendar on what's going on, which is part of what we're going to be discussing today. There are press releases, the daily transcripts. Go all the way back to the beginning if you want to see transcripts of the different trials. The active cases that are going on now, the inactive cases. All of these things, the viewing sites where you can see the proceedings when they actually happen, which are usually held in viewing rooms on military bases. So you will have that option available to you, and maybe even more coming up soon. But I am going to leave this link up here. I don't know if you can see it, but it's mc.mil/home.aspx. Again, mc.mil/home.aspx. And again, I will leave that for you to be able to click on. Now, I went ahead and I did an article for today. It's actually posted up on the c-find.com website. The information, I just showed you the source of where we get our information. You can fact check me. In fact, I highly encourage you to fact check me. And the opinions that I'm going to be giving to you today are fact-based. And since nothing has been decided in a court of law, that's why it is an opinion. So we're going to be doing a lot of critical thinking today. Now, when you go to c-find.com website, you are going to be finding a lot of things there. We have news every single day. We, the people, volunteers from all over the world, are the ones that donate their time to fact check and to research the news in order to bring it to you and let you know what things that are being released have been found to be factual. And there are opinion pieces in there also, and we have people doing this every single day to bring you up-to-date news and what you can and or shouldn't pay attention to. And there's also a section there on military tribunals, goes all the way back of the different reports that we did since we've been covering these from the beginning. So please go there every single day. And also, I ask you to take note of the Seavine donation page. It's the link at the top. Please donate, even if it's a one-time donation or if you become a member. Whether you're a member or not, you still have full access to this website. There is nothing that is kept from you. But the membership is basically financial assistance to us, monthly donation of like $5, $10 or more, if you're able to do that, because we have a lot of overhead. This website is huge. It's really big. A lot of people are donating their time, but there's still overhead that we have to cover. And so we deeply appreciate you doing that. Okay, the article for today that I wrote, I think it's time that we go over a few things here. An update for 9/11 KSM et al. Pretrials, and this is a Seavine opinion. I'm just going to go ahead and read it over to you, and then we're going to have a little discussion. Okay, are we ever going to see justice from the terror attacks of 9/11? Or are we going to continue with an ongoing conjecture without closure, similar to the JFK assassination? In both situations, the people of the world were told a particular narrative that doesn't seem to hold water with those who are critical thinkers. Yet we continue to hope justice will be served, while token efforts of endless discovery are discussed ad nauseum in the KSM et al. 9/11 pretrials. Yes, I said pretrials. For those of you that are new here, it's still in pretrials after 19 years. And that's as far as we've come. Everything in court has been going by the book and always carefully discussed, but every single time, somehow, some way, a very good excuse will coincidentally come up to prevent forward movement. At what point do things stop becoming coincidental and start becoming obstruction? Instead of rehashing old news, let's just take a peek at the very last KSM et al. 9/11 proceeding that happened in January 2020. This is where you are not going to be told what to think. You're going to decide this on your own, because it is the critical thinkers that will force this farce to closure. Yes, you, we the people. You're going to have to, we are going to have to start demanding that things step up and get done. Because it's not doing it by letting things run themselves, is it? Okay, in January of 2020, the main discussion point on the docket in GTMO was to go over what happened in the black sites for the enhanced interrogation. Members of the CIA were to be put on the stand for discovery purposes of what evidence, if anything, could be admissible in court. Now remember that Obama in 2009 made the mandate that information gained from enhanced interrogation could not be used as evidence, even though it was considered what is called, quote unquote, white torture. Pre-trials at that time were then canceled, and a new strategy came about where evidence would be allowed in the new set of pre-trials if gathered from what they called were gleaned from the clean teams. That's what they called them. In other words, the interrogators were nice when asking questions to the alleged terrorists starting in 2012, which happened 3 years later after they tossed the others out. So from that point, there was an ongoing saga of behind-the-scenes shenanigans happening, but nothing was ever done about it. Gosh, does that sound familiar? The drama continued on, even though one situation actually in 2013 should have kicked the entire case out of court again. Boy, I mean, I mentioned this, and I actually did a previous tribunal update about what happened in 2013, but very much abbreviated wise. One of the CIA who was part of the enhanced interrogation way back in the beginning when this was going on, I think it started in 2003 when they first caught KSM et al. Or Khalik Sheikh Mohammed et al. Is that individual retired, and then they found out accidentally, because the alleged terrorist recognized the CIA agent in court that was on the defense team was hired by the defense team to be able to be in court at that time. And anyway, it's an interesting story. That right there should have disqualified quite a few things. But moving on. Okay. Okay, I'm finding my place. Okay. But nothing was ever done about it. So it continued on for years and years, giving what I personally believe was just the illusion of searching for justice. But then in June of 2019, another judge was placed in charge of KSM et al. I like to call him the new sheriff in town. I mentioned in the past that a number of regular attendees of the 9/11 pretrials had told me that this case would never make it to trial. I also couldn't understand why that would be at the time, but since I had become a veteran since then to these trials, I know that supposition is absolutely correct. Even though Judge Cohen was the very first judge to ever set a date for the trials to actually begin, he set this date over a year ago, I and others knew somehow it wouldn't happen. It couldn't. It couldn't. They have been kicking the can down the road for every imaginable excuse for too long now. Why would they suddenly change? Judge Cohen set the tribunals to begin on January 11th, 2021. Exactly 20 years after the terror attacks. The pretrials after that point in time then became entertaining. It was rather interesting watching temper tantrums en masse because of not being able to manipulate for additional delays. We don't have enough time for our discovery by that deadline, said quite a few. But Cohen stood firm. Then on the very final day of the January 2020 proceedings, Judge Cohen announced to the prosecution, listen to this, he may have hard decisions to make if he found the defense allegations were correct about improper surveillance from the government. Cohen then stated that he may have to throw the entire case out of court. Uh-oh. Interesting. I mean, talking about boom, boom, boom. That's when the whole world seemed to go to hell in an instant. Remember this, January, end of January 2020. What happened after that? This is when the judge that was finally listening and taking action and appears to have triggered some interesting results. Number one, about 2 weeks after that, after the last proceedings, just 2 weeks after the last proceedings, about middle of February, Judge Cohen quit suddenly, citing concerns over his family's welfare. Cohen was the presiding judge over KSM et al., and he had made a mandate last July that the first date of the trials were to be January 21st, 2021. So that was huge. No one was thinking it'll ever go to trial. Well, he actually set a date. Now there's a side note here. Judge Perella announced he was accepting a new position elsewhere after he had an emergency in one of the KSM et al. Proceedings of a detached retina. Okay, Judge Perella was the judge who was in charge of KSM et al., Khalik Sheikh Mohammed et al., proceedings of the 9/11 proceedings before Judge Cohen. And then during one of the proceedings, he had an emergency of a detached retina. Perella was also one of the people that moved the trials forward. And it was at this point when this happened that Judge Cohen was his replacement. Now, what is also interesting is the very next day of Judge Perella was supposed to be having al-Baluchi, one of the 5 terrorists, was going to be on the stand. Al-Baluchi is the proverbial money man of all of this. And so all of a sudden, this emergency, All these trials were canceled, and they had to find the new judge. Okay, so number 2, the coronavirus, COVID-19, began to quickly increase in the US immediately after the last proceeding. POTUS took action almost immediately to stop the influx of people coming in from out of the country to the United States. So this is all happening in that time frame. Keep that in mind. Number 3, all GTMO proceedings were then canceled, starting with the scheduled February KSM round, citing COVID-19 concerns. Minimal staff at GTMO maintain. As of today, this status hasn't changed. Yes, I know what a number of you are saying. They built up GTMO for all these additional people coming in, and that very well may be true. But because of COVID-19, they have minimal people there right now. The planes can't come and go out of there. It's just basically an essential workers crew that's in there right now. There are no trials, no pre-trials, nothing, because there's more going on there than just KSM et al. But there's nothing going on there right now. So as of today, that status hasn't changed. So all of the trials, the pre-trials that were scheduled for this entire year, that they were in a huge hurry in order to be able to maintain and gain the discovery that they needed in time for the actual quote unquote tribunals to actually go to trial on January 11th, 2021. They're all canceled. Just a month ago, they actually had some of the proceedings were still scheduled for November, starting November 9th after the elections. And then there was a couple weeks there in December. So I thought, well, that's interesting. We'll see what happens. Well, those are canceled now too. So the entire year is canceled. And when you go to the January 2021, the entire calendar is blank. Everything's been scrubbed. Everything. Could this have been the reason for the world to basically shut down? Okay, that's a huge question. But let's think critically just for a moment what this could possibly be. Was COVID another false flag? A diversion? Was 9/11 about to be blown wide open? Now, keep in mind, a lot of the victim family members are suing a number of people in federal court, trying to get this to move forward a little bit. And that's another whole story in and of itself. But there's other things going on also. So it's something for you to consider, to think about, because the timing is interesting. Now, keep in mind, I have been mentioning from the very beginning, 9/11 is a keystone going in two different directions, all the way to the JFK assassination, backwards, forward to today. Interconnections. It's all there. We're talking Benghazi. We're talking the Las Vegas massacre. We're talking about a number of different things, possibly even COVID, to manipulate and turn situations around and to basically guide the sheep in a particular direction. But that's just an opinion, something to think about. I personally believe that something huge is going to come out this month. I have a feeling. I may be wrong, but I'm looking at all the various different things that are happening, not only because of GTMO, but because of Seavine is pretty much in charge of looking at behind the scenes and news and doing research and so on. So we're seeing an interesting, unique perspective on what's really going on around the world. And there's a lot of things that are coming together right now, all at once, all at once. And October surprise is right here. So if my opinion, if my supposition is correct, and everything is connected together, the information that's going to be coming out is going to be mind-blowing. Keep in mind, they have everything. They have everything they need. So keep your eyes open, people. It's going to get interesting very, very, very quickly. Now, just remember, the KSM et al. The 9/11 proceedings have been canceled since February of 2020. And is going to continue to stay canceled. Now, if you would like to have a discussion about this, instead of just doing it in writing or whichever, we not only have the forum on the c-find.com website, but we also have a huge discussion study group on Facebook, the C-Find International News Network. It's Facebook groups. It's in a group. It's C-Find News Talk. Please come, ask to be a member, come join us. We now have over 32,000 members, and a huge lot of them are really active. We also post the news on here every day, and we discuss it. So come join us. We all need to come together and have a place to gather and have a talk. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining us today, and I look forward to our next discussion because I think you're going to find it's a good one. Good evening, everyone.